It's beginning to look a lot like Marxism everywhere you go. Yep, sure is. Welcome to the Fellowship. Today's video is aimed at those men who are aware that things aren't right with our country, but don't speak out about it. Don't talk to others about it. We've seen a massive decline over the last few years of natural masculinity. I understand, because it's a constant bombardment, isn't there, of toxic masculinity, and men are evil and horrible. But we've got to embrace our masculinity if we want to save our country. If you sound asleep, it doesn't matter, because what I'm talking about isn't going to mean anything to you. But if you are aware, then it's incumbent upon all of us to do our bit, because no one's coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. So we've got to learn to say yes, and we've got to learn to say no. So when we're talking to people and someone says, "You can't say that," then we have to say, "Yes, we can. Yes, we can." If someone says, "You can't think that," and you have to look at them and say, "Yes, I can. And I will." And on the flip side of that, if someone's telling you to do something or go along with something that feels completely wrong in your gut, then you can say, and you have to say, "No, I'm not doing that." Or, "No, I'm not going along with that." People use words, and we all know this. People use words to stop us saying what we truly think. And they make us feel bad, and they throw things out at us. I remember 2, 3, maybe 4 years ago, I was talking to this chap and I was giving him my opinion on a particular subject. And he looked at me and he said, "You're a bit of a cunt, aren't you?" He didn't say cunt, he actually said it, but I'm not going to say that on this video. Not that I'm averse to saying it, but as soon as you start mentioning words like that, people get switched off. And anyway, he said, "You're a bit of a cunt, aren't you?" And I looked at him, and I smiled, and I put out my hand, and he put out his hand, and I shook his hand. And I said, "Sounds like we've met before. Sounds like you know me." Because they are just words. When I was a young chap in the late 70s, early 80s, a young boy, you would hear people say things like, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me." And absolutely right. They're just words. Another phrase I used to hear a lot was "big girls' blows." Don't know if some of you remember that. But it was basically when boys were acting like little girls. You were acting like a big girl's blouse. Now I understand that speaking out can be difficult. I understand it can be hard. But we have to embrace our natural masculinity and just do it. We have to do it. And we have to do it on a local level. So the problem with YouTube videos and other channel videos is that the only people who watch them are those who are already aware and are in that sort of that pool. Whereas what we do with the fellowship is we encourage men to embrace their natural masculinity and talk in a one-to-one environment when they're out and about, either with members of their family, their friends, or complete strangers. So sparking up conversations with complete strangers. Because if we're just relying on YouTube or other social media platforms to get the message out, then all we're doing is talking amongst ourselves. So the true bravery, the true courage comes from talking to complete strangers. And that's what we have to do. And you can pick your subject. It can be various medical interventions. It can be the replacement agenda for the British peoples. It can be the Great Reset. It can be all kinds of things. It can just be the price of everything, the inflation. You choose a subject. But the most important thing is that you embrace your natural masculinity. It is there. And the first step is always the hardest. The first time you step out is always the hardest. And then when you've done it once, it becomes more natural. We have to do it. We have to spread the word, not just with people who are already listening and already aware of stuff, but to complete strangers who just watch the BBC. Oh, can you imagine still paying your license fee to watch the BBC? Oh my God. But millions of people still do. We have to start sowing that seed because we're running out of time. If you love your country, if you want it to prosper, if you want you to prosper, if you want you to do well, members of your family, your children, your grandchildren, you've got to do it. There's no choice. You have to do it. Remember, no one's coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. Merry Christmas, and thank you for listening.